Hey everyone, as promised, I'm continuing on my series of RSX videos with the Kpro, and today I am going to work on how to crackle tune with Kpro. Most of you may have seen my how to crackle tune with K-Tuner. This is going to be very similar. A lot of the same principles apply. The ignition timing side of things is exactly the same, but the fuel side of things is different. So I'm going to go through all the intricacies of that. But first things first, I should do my disclaimer. Basically, don't do this. It is not good for your car. It can damage it. You can break stuff. It is purely for fun. Only do this if you want to have fun and you don't care if you damage or break something. What I would also like to say is I'm happy to answer questions and emails, but if it's about if this is good for your car, if it'll damage it, if it'll hurt it, the answer is it's not good for your car, it'll damage it, it'll hurt it, so don't do it. But sometimes things are just about for fun. This is my test vehicle for having fun with, so I'm gonna do it, I'll show you it. I drive around with it on because it's kind of fun, it puts a smile on my face. Would I keep it on all the time? Probably not. The beauty part of this is you can put it on when you want it on, and then just put your regular map back on when you don't want it on. Anyways, so hopefully that takes care of that portion of it. So let's dive in and go through what it takes to add Crackle to Hondata Kpro. Okay, first things first, basically make sure you have your USB plugged in. Turn the key to the on position. And what we need to do is download your tune, download your map that you're working with. So I recommend online, tools, download. It downloads it. Now with this downloaded, what you want to do is save it. So you have a safe, unmodified copy of your original tune that you ever need to go back to, you can go back to it. So I'll save that, and then I will open up a new version, save it as the Crackle version, and start working with that. So I have my Crackle tune map ready to go, saved. This is a separate of my original tune. And what you want to do, if we break this down into two parts, the two aspects of how to do this are with ignition timing and fuel. So I'm going to take care of the fuel side of things first. And the way it works with Kpro is you load up the tables and we go over to the ignition timing portion of it. So the lightning bolt is ignition timing. Number 1 is for non-VTEC, number 2 is for VTEC. Within each of these, there are 6 individual maps. So what you're gonna wanna do is, you have to make sure that you adjust all of these maps that are the same. So what I recommend is make sure edit all is on. That makes sure that all the maps get edited at the same time. So what you want to do ignition timing wise is we want to make adjustments to these 2 columns, which are the decel columns, and we are going to adjust it above 2000. You can do 2000 or slightly above 2000. I would do just slightly above 2000. So what we're going to do is we are going to use Control J, which brings up the adjust, and we're going to set these to the value that we want. With Kpro, the maximum negative value that you can run is -20. So what we'll do is probably the same thing that we did with the K-Tuner is I'll show you what -20 is like, what -15 is like, what -10 is like, and what -5 is like. So all we do is Control J, which brings up the adjust selected values, and we're going to want to select this portion of it, which is set selected values to, and I'm going to punch in -20. So if you see now, we have -20 in our non-VTEC ignition maps. And if we scroll through to -10, -20, -30, 40, 50, they're all the same. They've all been adjusted to -20. So what we can also do is do the same thing for the VTEC maps. So if you select ignition number 2, you'll see that these are the ignition maps. And in this case, my VTEC is set at 4,600 RPM. So basically you just need to catch slightly below that. So I'm gonna select 3,500 RPM and up. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Control J, tab down to set selected value, -20, and you'll notice all the degrees are set to -20. So that takes care of the ignition side of things. So with this set like this, you will need to basically ride the gas pedal on decel to activate it. Same as the K-tuner setup. Basically, normally when you let off the gas and coast down or decel, the injectors shut off to save fuel and to not wash out the cylinder walls. What we need to do is to restart the injectors so that they spray a bit of fuel so that we get the pop, because without fuel there will be no popping. So what I'm gonna do is maybe get this up and running, show you how to do that, and then we'll move on to outside the car. Okay, so car's up and running. I've got it up to temp. One thing before we get started is you also want to make sure to go into closed loop and make sure this is checked. You want to disable fuel overrun cut delay. You basically need this checked, otherwise it's not going to work. So let's get it up to speed and I'll show you what it's like driving this in the car, and then I'll do some outside of the car. Okay. So basically what you need to do with this mode and only adjusting ignition timing and no fuel settings, we need to ride the TPS or keep the throttle body open slightly on decel. You'll notice that as I'm decelling, the TPS value is staying slightly open, usually 1 or 2%, maybe a bit more. And that's how we keep the injectors on, which is how we keep the duty cycle going, which gives us the fuel. So let's see, I'll show you that. Basically, if you don't ride the throttle, it won't keep the injectors on and it'll just decel normally, and I'll show you that. So now I'm going to show you from outside the car what the different values sound. I'm going to do -20, -15, -10, -5, and you'll see -20 is usually the most erratic, and then as you get down to -5, it becomes more consistent. So louder bangs and pops, more erratic at -20, more consistent, lots of little pops usually at -5. So I'll show you. so now that you've seen how the ignition timing side of things works, the way to take care of fuel on Kpro is slightly different. What we need to do is go into the advanced settings. In the advanced settings, we go to overrun cutoff minimum RPM, and basically we need to make sure that the injectors aren't shutting off basically ever. And unfortunately it's not as good as the K-tuner setup, because what we can do is set a timer with the K-tuner that lets us keep the injectors on for like 2 seconds or whatnot, but we'll have to make do with Kpro, so this is the way to do it. Basically, the top row is engine coolant temperature, and the bottom row is the minimum RPM. So what we're going to do is, above 166, which is basically operating temperature, we're going to set this value very high so that basically the injectors never shut off on decel. So we'll do, what I recommend is, if you do want it and you want it to happen, say, all the time, you can either specify this value to be above your rev limit, or if you don't want it to happen above, say, 5,000 or 6,000, set it to 5,000 or 6,000. In this case, I'll just set it to above my red line, so I'm going to put 9,000, and I'm going to upload that. And now what we will see is that no matter what, if I let off to 0, the injectors are not going to shut off. The issue with doing this, and I don't recommend doing it, is that the injectors will never shut off. So if you drive a lot, you're going to get terrible fuel economy. Not to mention that you are going to actually get a lot more fuel contamination, because the injectors will be still firing under decel and washing out your cylinders walls, which is really bad for your engine. So maybe just do this occasionally, just for fun, if you really have to. But just want to throw it out there that this is not good for the engine, and don't do it. But I don't know, it's all for fun anyways, right? So let's set our ignition timing values back to 20, minus 20, upload that, and I will show you what it's like. So, 4th gear, I'm gonna decel, and you'll watch the throttle position will go to 0, but injectors will stay on. So there you have it. That is how you do Crackle tuning with Kpro. So with all that being said, one thing I do want to add is I've been asked on how you can set this up with a switch, and technically there is a way, and I'm going to create a whole other video on that, because it is a lot more complicated and I don't want it to get lost with this and make this video too long. So I'm going to make another video, I should have it out shortly, where I go through how to set this up on a switch. That being said, it is not perfect, but it will give you the kind of the best of both worlds sort of setup, where you can just have a switch that turns this Crackle feature on and off as you want it. It is much more complicated to set up, but I think a lot of you guys will be very interested to see that video, so stay tuned for what I'm going to call my advanced Crackle and Tune Kpro video. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and how to do it. If you want to try it on your car, this is basically all you need on how to do it. If you don't feel comfortable doing it and you don't want to do it, I do offer services to help via email, via remote tuning, so I can help you with that. And a lot of times guys want me to help walk them through how to do it one-on-one, and that's what the remote tuning sessions are for. Basically, I log in remotely and help you set it up so that you know what you're doing, you know you haven't done anything incorrectly, and you're more confident that it will be doing exactly what you want it to do. Anyways, so I hope you've enjoyed the video. Do me a favor, please like, please subscribe. All the comments are very much appreciated, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks now.